Yeah. All right. Cool. Dumbledore was Gandalf. Finkel is Einhorn. Nobody needs to get upset. Or everybody can get upset. Either one is fine. The most moronic, idiotic, and uninformed people. That's some advanced moron confidence. Every now and then I'll make the mistake of saying something. This is exactly what the Constitution says, and if you don't like it, that's too bad. I'm a centrist because the left and the right are pushing me to the middle. So why don't we start putting things in perspective? I'm not even being paid to do this show, let alone fix what's going on in the Middle East. Super entitled, unbelievable brats of children. What exactly is that going to accomplish? You little bitch. Not everybody has to take on your issues. I'm not sorry if I offended anybody. I feel like that is both sensitive and graphic content.
Hard Rock Lunchbox.
What is up, everybody, and welcome to the Hard Rock Lunchbox, and of course the top 20 if you're indeed listening to the top 20, but I suppose if you're seeing this, then you're watching the top 20, but if you're hearing it, it's listening to the top 20, and now that we've got that all settled, let's get started, shall we? Yeah. It's a pretty drizzly and awfully humid May 2nd. It's gonna be May 2nd, 2024. So I guess you could say we made it. I'm just going to let you know right now, I have a pimple right there that has been vexing me for the past 12 hours. So in case any of you forgot what it's like to be 17 and late for homeroom, I suggest you get yourself a good old pimple. And it'll just kind of remind you. I am starting to shave down my beard because it's been getting warm out. It was actually warm enough the other day that I put sunblock on and then had to wear a hat and 2 hoodies yesterday at soccer practice. So we are in that part of weather in the Northeast where you just don't really know what season it's going to be from hour to hour. That's neither here nor there. I just wanted to warn everybody about the pimple because I feel like, you know when you see those things where it's like sensitive or graphic content? I feel like that is both sensitive and graphic content. So I'm doing my due diligence, preparing my viewers for what could happen. Not a huge fan. What was I going to say? It's just wow. Did anybody see that? Like I feel like I just felt it just get pulled out like a big Gandalf sort of, not Gandalf. Ooh, wow. Well, although he was Gandalf, I'm Dumbledore. Dumbledore was Gandalf. Finkel is Einhorn. Yeah. Gonna be that kind of day. Whatchamacallit. So yeah. So I felt like just a Dumbledore moment, just pulling something right out of my brain. Yeah. Alright, cool. Good talk, everybody. Alright. Get to some light housekeeping. I'm incredibly underslept, by the way. We'll talk about that in a second. Some light housekeeping. Top 20. A new top 20 is out today. It's a humble thank you. It's me thanking everybody that did show up for the Beery show and like how kind of moved and touched I was to actually have so many people just show up. I'm going to meet up with Jimmy at some point soon about another Unplugged show. So if you guys are itching, as the kids say, not from chlamydia or syphilis, but if you're itching for a new Unplugged show, like that is in the works. I'm thinking like early to mid-August, but I will of course keep you posted, and we'll do that. But anyway, so there's a new top 20 out, and it's basically like this week DJ needs a mental break. Oh, for those of you, was that last week? Was that only last week? Jesus Christ. So for those of you, like when I was in the middle of throes of like this whole IT whirlwind of shit that was going on for the past couple of weeks, the migration that I was working on, the server migration I was working on, is all but done. Only one of the servers didn't kind of, well, it came over, but the company that sold us did not tell the company that bought us what some of those credentials were, which I find absolutely hysterical. But it's not a mission critical server, so it didn't matter. But I will say, to my credit, if I could blow my own horn for toot my own horn for a second. The migration went better than we were predicting. I beat my time estimates for all that other stuff. I was so vexed and hyped up that I didn't actually get to sleep till 1 a.m. anyway. So even though I beat my time estimates for the job, I did not get to sleep until I thought I was going to have to get to sleep. It was actually weird. I was sitting on the couch and like I actually watched my daughter go to bed, like, which I have not seen Charlotte go to bed in, I don't know, years. I mean, no one sees Corey go to bed. I mean, that dude sleeps like 4 or 5 in the morning. I will say my boy Corey Bubbles is out in Texas right now. He went to a tournament. He's doing some stuff in Dallas. He's doing some stuff in Dallas. He's hanging with some friends in Dallas, but he was in a tournament in Houston. So he flew out for that tournament, the gaming tournament. He did come in third, which is acceptable enough, as we like to say around here. But he did manage to get to Buc-ee's, which was a huge thing. All my Texas listeners, he has been looking forward to going to Buc-ee's ever since I came back from South by Southwest and was trying to explain just how goddamn amazing a Texas Buc-ee's is. So he finally got to accomplish that. He did not, however, get to go to Super Happy Funland, which, much to my surprise, is still open, even while Acadia, my favorite place to play in all of Houston, is closing as of like this past weekend. The world, if you think the world is fair, you are mistaken. And it's definitely not about fair, I know, man. But yeah, Bubbles finally got his way to Buc-ee's, and he was very happy about it. We're going to talk about it ad nauseum when he comes back, I'm sure. Trade stories, because I have not been there since I was at South by. So, anyway. But yeah, so we talk about all that other stuff, whatever. Shows coming up, 5/25, May 25th, the end of this month. We'll be at Shakers. We'll be with the Muckrakers and Craving Strange and a couple other bands. If you need tickets, they are $12 each. Just Venmo me if you want. You can Venmo me. You can do to the band, in which I lose money because I have to pay money on that. But that's at Revel9 on Venmo, or you can go at GDavy, which is me personally on Venmo. I'll probably just post the tickets for sale. Actually, the tickets might already be for sale on our website. But if you just, want to do that, and I'll just leave them for you at the door, or you can, get them, I'm sure, day of show. Although I think day of show, they're more expensive. I think that's a pretty typical Muckrakers sort of thing, $12 advance, $15 day of show. I've never been a huge fan of punishing people for the day of show, but I do understand why they do it, especially in terms of planning for ticket sales. But listen, it's not my show. I don't care. We're right in the middle, make sure you don't have to come super early. I mean, you should come super early, check out all the other bands, but don't think we're playing super late either. So, and then of course at June 21st we'll be at Village Pub again with Craving Strange, but this time with something heavy, and it's Off the Turnpike's coming out party for Long Island, I suppose. And so that'll be good, and then we are done for shows for a little while until we do the Unplugged. We'll be busy recording, so we start recording next Saturday. So we'll be busy for sure, which is good. I will be posting the details for the release of Inside, which is the next Revel 9 single to come out. I will be posting those details soon, probably over the weekend and stuff like that. There's no point. It's not coming out until June, so nobody needs to get upset. Or everybody can get upset. Either one is fine. So, as I said, I'm a little underslept. I know it's a huge shocker. Everyone's always really surprised. I did want to talk about a couple things. I don't think they're political, but I guess everything is kind of political these days. By the way, I did troll a couple of comments again from people watching the Hard Rock Lunchbox shorts that the AI generates. It's just funny to me, like, how mean people are, and like how, like, I mean, I don't know how many people actually saw Bambi that are still alive, but like that whole thing about like Thumper and like what Thumper's mom said, like, if you don't have anything nice to say, like, don't say nothing. Like, it's a good way to be in society. Like, unless you are actively trying to do something or change something or engage in conversation. But I gotta tell you, 90% of the negative comments that I see that are directed towards the shorts are just the most moronic, idiotic, and uninformed comments from probably some of the most moronic, idiotic, and uninformed people on the internet. I mean, the simple fact that you would, like, stop, I guess, pooping so that you could comment something where you're completely wrong about something where I'm completely right, like, that's some advanced moron confidence. And I realized that we're in the age of it. I mean, it really kind of started when President Obama got elected, and a lot of white people were just like, this is enough for me. And then, of course, when their fearless leader got elected, they were like, see, I was right this whole time. And then when he didn't get elected, they were like, now everything's being stolen from me. So it's like, you see the progression, right? Like, where moron confidence just keeps increasing and stuff like that. Well, I see it all the time, too. I don't really read all the comments all that often, but, like, I do check the analytics, mainly because I'm fascinated by them, because they're stats, and I guess at my heart and soul and core, I am just a stats nerd. So I do check the analytics on the channel, and every now and then I'll just see a comment that just jumps out at me, and it's just like completely ridiculous. What I do like is the 10% of negative comments that are actually like thoughtful and insightful. Like, I talk about the Sweden one a lot because that was like a lot, like hundreds of comments and stuff, and I just didn't even bother to keep up with it. But there was like one. There's one recently, because I was talking, whatever show I was saying, that, like, how at this point, like, or back in the day, like, if you saw people's social media and there was a lot of political posts on it, you were like, this, you know, like, you thought somebody was, like, super engaged and, like, so, you know, like, that's important. Like, these people are politically active or they're active in their communities about stuff like that. Now I see, and, you know, people, obviously, if they're looking at my historical page, will see a lot of political stuff. Like, I don't really post political stuff anymore. A, because it's just not worth it. B, because everybody I'm trying to convince, I think, that will listen to me has already been convinced or already agrees with me. And 3, like, kind of after that, all that information about confirmation biases and how much worse it's getting and how we're using our intellect only to confirm more biases, like, there's really no point. And I don't need the extra aggravation. It just isn't. Like, every now and then I'll make the mistake of saying something and it'll just, you know, turn into whatever. So I'm trying to go back to, like, good thoughts or whatever. But I do think that social media, for, like, especially like Facebook and stuff like that, and even Instagram, is, like, pretty much dead for conveying points and principles and ideas. I think it's just, you know, Twitter might still be the town square, but it is just a cesspool of the town square. So, like, I don't even know where people are just going deeper and deeper into their own bubbles. And then, you know, just like they said years ago, you're just going to have your own filter bubble. So everybody that you're hearing from and talking to is going to agree with you, and you're never going to have any new ideas, which is bad. But that is why I actually like the 10% of the negative comments that are actually insightful and kind of bring up, like, oh, what about this point? And what about this point? And I think this, you know, like, those kinds of discussions I love. I had a comment where I responded to, it's like, you know, I agree with all your ideas. Like, absolutely what you're saying is true. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for the comment, because that's really true. Like, I'm not looking to pick a fight with anybody. Like, I'm not really talking about stuff that I'm looking to instigate people on. I mean, people can disagree with stuff that I'm saying. That's fine. You're completely allowed to have your own opinion. But having your own facts, like, really has been this whole fake news and, you know, projection from the right-wing ecosphere is just, it's just tremendous. And now, you know, the left wing, the extreme left wing does it too, which is just, you know, like, that's why people always give me a hard time because I'll refer to myself as more of a centrist. Like, dude, I'm getting more and more centrist by the moment, because the extremes are really what the extremes are really doing is driving the center closer together, because where the center. And yeah, I'm a centrist, whether you believe it or not. Like, as socially liberal as I am, like, they have the extreme left of the social liberal movement have already tested my patience and pushed me too far. So I don't identify with, you know, a lot of identity politics. Like, I really just don't. It's not the way I was raised. It's not what I truly believe is important in a democracy. Like, to be perfectly honest, to be perfectly frank, like, I don't give a shit what you think in a democracy or a representative democracy. Like, the singular you. Like, I don't care. I really care what we think in a representative democracy. And that's why, like, a lot of times we'll get to these issues where I'm like 45%, 55%. It's like, yeah, you know, I don't like it. And I used to do this with, like, gun control. Like, I really don't like the fact that anybody can just go get a gun and, like, walk through New York City now with a concealed weapon. I don't like it. It makes me nervous. It makes me uncomfortable. We are battling an incredibly difficult mental health problem, and those red flags and those checks just aren't working properly. So it bothers me at my core that that's allowed. But We are allowed to do it. And I've argued this, like, based on the Second Amendment of the Constitution. I've had these conversations with other people, about how, like, it's really specifically for a militia and all that other stuff. And yes, it does sort of say those things, but it does not say we can't own them. So, like, I have come around to the point of view that, like, yeah, I may not like it, but we're allowed to do that because those are the laws of this country. And that's the fight I've been having with the right for the past couple of years, because they're just all up in arms like, I don't like it this way. This is not the way it is. This is not what the Constitution says. And I could be like, this is exactly what the Constitution says. And if you don't like it, that's too bad, because these are the laws of the land. And I feel like in a representative democracy, you have to be willing to accept a portion of the stuff that you simply don't like, that the majority of the people want. You see this a lot in the pro-choice movement, right? The women's rights movement. Like, time and time and time again, women in this country and their, colleagues, peers, and whatever, and men have voted to uphold women's rights when it's brought to them in a democratic fashion. The only time you find this sort of curb on on those rights are when small groups of Republican, generally men, make rules against women's reproductive freedom, which is not how this works, right? And when you can go into gerrymandering and all that other stuff and understand why things are skewed the way they are, but the simple fact that thing that was going down in Arizona, where the court, and I said this on the show a couple weeks ago, rightfully so, upheld that pre-Civil War law banning all abortions and stuff because it had never been taken off the books. They did the right thing legally. And then, the Arizona State House finally just repealed it. But I got to tell you, they narrowly repealed it. Like, they narrowly repealed it. And the wide breadth of Arizonans, I don't know, I'm not from there. They wanted that repealed. But, like, it was narrow in the State House. Like, that is not representative democracy at all. And, so anyway, people don't like the way things are, but it's too bad. Like, if you're in the minority, you're in the minority. Like, that's just sort of the way that works. Which brings me to this. So, yeah, anyway, I'm a centrist because the left and the right are pushing me to the middle. And fiscally, I'm fairly conservative, and socially, I'm fairly liberal. But, like, I am not extremely liberal. Like, again, I don't do all the identity politics. I'm not interested in that. I am also not, as far right as all the MAGA movement and stuff like that. I also believe that President Obama was born in Hawaii, and all that other stuff. And I don't need to believe in fake facts, because I can just look at the actual facts and I can sort of discern this. And anybody that's watching this doesn't agree, like, well, you just don't know and you have your head in the sand. Like, I don't have my head in the sand. Please, 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 just stop watching if you cannot accept that somebody's opinion might have a little bit more validity than yours. Because if you can't do that, then you can't engage in the conversation. I'm really not interested in anything else you have to say at that point. If you're going to be that rigid in your bias, just please move on. It's super easy to swipe left or right or up or down or whatever it is the kids are doing these days. But I did want to talk about this nonsense because I have... It's an unfinished opinion because I'm still gathering information. I'm still trying to figure this stuff out. I also can't tell if I've reached the age where I'm like, get off my lawn, kind of old man sort of thing. But these protests that are going on in these colleges, these pro-Palestinian protests that are going on, like, I could not be more against them. Like, the way they're developing. Like, I am fine. Like, if you want to, have a sit-in or whatever and you want to raise awareness, by all means. I traditionally, and this is why I don't think it's an old man thing, traditionally, I have always felt like those people that are, like, blocking bridges and, like, laying down in traffic, inconveniencing people that are not causing the problem are the problem. Like, I don't feel like that's ever been a good form of public protest. Like, yes, having marches and stuff like that, fine. They're moving, they're planned, people can understand that sort of stuff. Like, that's fine. Like, a MAGA rally with a permit, all day. All day long. Like, like when the civil rights, when they were crossing the bridge in Selma, like, yeah, all day. Like, I feel like those are good ways to bring awareness. They're public protests. They're generally peaceful. I mean, the Selma one didn't end so peacefully, but, like, you know what I mean? Like, that kind of thing is, I think, a good idea. And even the sit-ins, a lot of the sit-ins that they were having, and I'm bringing up the Vietnam War because these kids had the audacity and balls to bring up the Vietnam War. and comparisons, like as if, first of all, like as if. But there, those sit-ins, like those were the people that were going and being sent to war and dying, and they protested the war because it was probably an illegal war anyway, and hindsight has shown that that's probably true regardless, but they were protecting their own. And they really, really needed things to change. Like, really. Like, it was an American issue. American lives were being lost for possibly an illegal war. And that's why they were having all these protests and sit-ins. And honestly, the only time they really ever went violent was when the police or the National Guard came in and they shot a bunch of them, like at Kent State. Like, that's a very real thing. And, like, now people are complaining that the NYPD went into Colombia and basically arrested all these people. Like, dude, if this were the 60s, like, some of you dudes would be dead right now. Like, so why don't we start putting things in perspective? That's one. But also, like, I am fine. The right to assemble and protest is protected in the Bill of Rights, and the Constitution, and I truly believe in those things. I just feel like if you're not effectively doing it, you're basically just being a pain in the ass, and you're just doing it the wrong way. Like, why they aren't protesting, like, at the Israeli embassy or somewhere, or going to Israel and going to Palestine or whatever. Like, I would love to see some of these Colombia, entitled twats just go over to Palestine. First of all, have all their rights taken away because they're female, and also try and tell an IDF officer, like, what they think of Israel, and let me know how that goes. Like, there are reasons that the conflict in Palestine is going on right now. Do I think Israel should stand down? Absolutely. I think they've made their point. I think they have done quite enough. I think that the fact that the Palestinians are kind of all trapped in the refugee area, like, I think this is really bad and a really bad humanitarian crisis. And I agree that Israel has the right to defend itself and should go ahead and try and wipe Hamas out, but you can't just do it blindly. We need to be able to hold them to the same standards that we hold other countries to, right? Like, when in Africa during all those genocides, like, they were just basically wiping people out because they were, terror. There was 5 bad terrorists in the group. Like, you can't do that. It's going on in Myanmar right now too. Like, and it's going on in China. I mean, with the Uyghurs in Western China. I mean, they're basically in concentration camps. Like, these are things that we as a country and a society oppose. What Israel is trying to do, basically trying to get rid of Hamas by wiping out all the Palestinians, it's not a good idea. So personally, I am ready for a ceasefire and a better plan. Do I have that plan? No. I am being paid. I'm not even being paid to do this show, let alone fix what's going on in the Middle East. So I am not going to weigh in with an uninformed opinion about, like, what we should do. I just know that they're creating a humanitarian crisis that doesn't need to be created, and they should stop. That part I understand. These, in my opinion, super entitled, unbelievable brats of children are, they're going beyond their right to assemble and their right to protest, and now they're being, like, combative, argumentative, and I've heard some really bad stuff coming out of California where they're, like, not letting Jewish students, like, enter classrooms or libraries. Like, I feel like that should be shot down immediately. But again, I don't know that firsthand. I don't know any other information about that. I do know what's going on, or what was going on in Colombia, and they were fine, and the university was under a lot of pressure because they were allowing these protests to continue, but while they weren't actually doing anything, just being kind of loud and annoying, that's allowed, and that's protected free speech under the Constitution. As soon as they broke into Hamilton Hall and basically took it over and started barricading and damaging stuff, I feel like that's game over, because that's what you're not supposed to do. And also, just stop for a quick second and ask yourself, what exactly is that going to accomplish? All it does is really piss off everybody else, so now we're less sympathetic to your cause because you're acting in a way that doesn't further anything. But also, what do you want? What do you expect is going to happen, right? You expect this war to end, because you barricaded yourself in a building in Colombia? Like, of course not. Like, nobody cares enough about you or what you're doing to end that war. But their stated goal is to get their universities to divest themselves from Israeli-backed, donations and Israeli companies and stuff like that. They're looking for basically, like, boycott, divestation, and there's, like, one other word. But that's... Oh, actually, I might have it written down here. They are demanding that the schools, many with massive endowments, financially divest from Israel. Divestment means to sell off stock in Israeli companies or to otherwise drop financial ties. Student activists say that companies doing business in Israel or with Israeli organizations are complicit in its ongoing war in Gaza, as our college is investing in those companies. Okay. That is a thing to ask for. If you're a student at a university and your university is doing that and you are giving your university money to attend there, like, whose fault is it actually? Like, the university is taking these endowments because the university was taking these endowments and invested in these financial opportunities long before your ass got there. So if you're mad at anybody, be mad at yourself for not doing your due diligence, your goddamn due diligence in figuring out the school you were going to attend. Like, maybe you wanted to go to Columbia since you were 5, but now you don't like their politics, so you want them to change. Too bad. You little bitch. Go somewhere else. Do your research and find a school that aligns with your values and your ideals. And what you really should do, if you want to prove a point, is all of you students should drop out of Columbia and go to another school right now. Because Columbia is what, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year? Like, they need your money too. And if you really want to hurt them, do that. Stop wasting everybody else's time. And the reason I feel that strongly about something like that is because I practice that shit in my own existence. I have been so anti-Chick-Fil-A for so long, it is ridiculous. Not only does the food make me sick because of its chemical additives in its food, by the way, you really shouldn't eat that shit. It is really, really bad for you. The fact that they're adding sweeteners to their bread so that you become more addicted to it should tell you absolutely everything you need to know. That's not a conspiracy theory. Look it up yourself, and I can prove it. If you ever want to watch it in person, get me a bun from Chick-fil-A. I will start to shake from it. And we can blind taste test all you want. But Chick-fil-A, historically, even though they're backing off of it now because LGBTQ dollars are important to everybody, has historically done nothing but donate to, like, anti-gay, anti-women, anti-all that stuff, because they are a very religious-based company. The owner was a devout Baptist. That's why they're not open on Sundays, because it's the Lord's Day. They're in a huge fight with New York State right now because they won this contract to be on the New York State Thruway, and they're not open on Sunday, which is a requirement of being on the New York State Thruway. How the F this went through, I have absolutely no idea. But the point is, here is a company that has ideals and an ideology that I not only don't agree with, I abhor. I went through this with Hobby Lobby, too, and their denial of, protection for women's rights in their insurance company, like in their insurance programs and stuff. But Chick-fil-A specifically is incredibly notorious because I know at their core they are incredibly anti-women and they're incredibly anti-LGBTQ. More so the latter. And I can prove that based on their donations to those charitable organizations. To the point where I will never eat there again, just based on their politics. There's plenty of other places to go. There's plenty of better places to go. And I'm not saying that all companies, are this or that or whatever, but like this one specifically is notoriously and egregiously anti the values that I have set for me and my family. And I will tell you, I have told my kids how disappointed I am in them each and every time they have gone to that establishment. Why? Because I don't want them to have my goddamn money because I do not agree with what they stand for as a company. And if you're one of these little bitches at Columbia and now all these other places, City College of New York, UCLA, all these places, all of them, including my beloved Stony Brook, they're starting to amass in the Quad. So if you're one of these people that really want to divest away from a company or an institution that's not aligned with your goals, stop going to these places. Pick up your shit, go to another school, and be done with it. That's how you do it. Stop causing problems for the other students that are just trying to get on with their day. Not everybody has to take on your issues. Not everybody has to agree with your issues, because that's how it works in this place. That's why I say at the beginning of this show, I don't care what you think. I care what we think. And right now, we think all you guys are being huge assholes, and basically now you're the problem. And you can agree or you can not agree, and that's fine. You are absolutely free to do that. Protest somewhere else. Stop making it difficult for absolutely everybody else, all these other students that are just trying to graduate, go to school, and go to the library. They're just trying to exist, and you are ruining that. And none of those people have anything at all to do with what's going on in Gaza. So if you want to stop Gaza, go there, Stop paying your institution that is apparently aligned with Israel, or go protest at an embassy. Go bother somebody who actually has something to do with what's going on. Stop bothering the rest of us. It doesn't help, and it makes things worse. And I will tell you this, you've earned at least one person that is incredibly anti your cause now, because you've gone about it the wrong way. So I'm sorry if I offended anybody. Nope, I take that back. I'm not sorry if I offended anybody. If I offended anybody, please feel free to talk to me in the comments about it. And as always, you can email me at monty@cravingstrange.net, because I just think that's funny. It's time to get on with the show. It's a little classic Revel 9. By the way, I got the masters back from the Diaries Live, so look for that later this year, including maybe this one.